Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is hereby called to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeholder Cooper, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Present.
Freeholder Jones.
Present.
Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Mercado.
Here.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Freeholder Siebel.
Here.
Freeholder President Gill.
Here. Please stand for salute to the flag. I'm going to ask that Freeholder Siebel please lead us in the salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask that we please remain standing for a moment of silence. Just wanted to, we have recognized at our last meeting, but she is here. We're glad to have her back with us tonight, Freeholder Siebold, and wanted to again ask everyone to keep Freeholder Siebold and her family in their prayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Before me, certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Mr. President, there are none.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Mr. President, there are none.
Let's move to the public comment session on agenda items. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. So if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any agenda item, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Also recognizing Freeholder Cooper. Okay, hearing and seeing none. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. Again, you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening.
You can squeeze the handle right underneath.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Janice Saveri from South Orange, New Jersey. I'm a member of Soma Action, a group of over 1,000 grassroots volunteers who formed after the November 2016 election. We have several subcommittees in which we look at issues that were important after that particular election. The subcommittee and our co-chairs who wish to speak with you tonight are from the Voters' Rights Committee. We are focused on voting machines, and first of all, we want to thank you for passing the resolution on the voting machines, the effectiveness, the budget issues, the importance, but it was the leadership that meant a lot. Even our town passed another resolution in South Orange in support of that resolution. What I wanted to talk about briefly, though, is why it's important to South Orange, or why it's important to me as a resident. In November 2017, we actually I experienced in my voting district where none of the votes were registered. They had to be counted a few days later. Now, in June of 2018, the machines were mended. We could tell because our votes registered. But then again, in November of 2018, we still had votes that weren't registered. In fact, we're one of the districts that was finalized with the court approval in terms of, I think it was District 13, for a election that was a close election. In our case, it was a Board of Ed election. We've had many close elections in South Orange, so this issue to us is not a theoretical one. We've lived through it. We know what it means. Over the past couple of years, we've collected information from different counties of what they're doing, the laws that are on the book in New Jersey. We've talked with other states that had to deal with issues with the voting machines, whether it was California or Connecticut.
30 seconds.
So we've seen that there's a amount of information available, but we don't know how to factor it into the process that you use when you make the decisions. So we'd like to be able to do that, to factor that information in. So what I'm here to ask for is that we have a public hearing on the voting machine issues so that we can work with you. We know it's a lot of work, and as citizens, we need to be standing up and doing our part to help. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Hala Gautier. I'm co-chair of the Voting Rights Committee of Soma Action. Again, I commend the board for the July 11th resolution directing the county to replace the existing DRE machines with voter-verified paper ballots and seek funding to get those voting machines paid for. I would also like to say that within the resolution, I noticed that there was a word that said you wanted, rightly so, reliable voting machines, and I would like to address a little bit about what I believe are reliable voting machines. First of all, and you put it in your resolution, it has to have a voter-verified paper ballot, one that the voter can actually look at and see, and that it should be easily verified by the voter. Second, in terms of reliable, is my mind and many of ours is security. That is, that the machines not be hackable. We all know about hackable via the internet, but there's also hackable via the software in the machines. So we would like to make sure that software cannot be hacked either by accident or on purpose. We all know that mistakes can be made. In addition, as the voting machines should be voter-friendly. When we talk about one thing, voter-verified paper ballots, some machines we know have a tiny little glass window that the voter is supposed to look at and say, oh yeah, okay. But in point of fact, voters may not look at that. So having a paper ballot that a voter can verify easily is very important. Related to the security issue is that there be something such as the optical scanner that the board recommended, that the voter can put that paper ballot into and that it be carefully monitored and taken care of. And finally, as related to all of that, which I don't believe at all I have to bring to the attention of this group, is that the machines that are purchased are cost effective, which does not necessarily mean the cheapest, but means the most effective machines to meet the requirements. To that end, I'm requesting that the Board of Freeholders hold a public hearing to gather the best information possible so that they can make a good decision. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Harris. I'm co-chair of the Voter Rights Committee of Soma Action. The issue I would like to address is the process by which this body, well, not this body, but the Elections Commission actually selects the machines. And to that end, we would like to have a public hearing so that we may present expert testimony that would help this body as well as the Elections Commission evaluate the machines. At the public hearing, we would like this body to invite the administration to attend the meeting so that they can hear from us directly and our experts directly, and that we can hear from them directly. We believe as citizens that the transparency of the process is important because the machines are complicated, the machines require computer expertise. In fact, the Election Assistance Commission, the Federal Election Assistance Commission, says that supervisors of elections are IT managers, whether they want to, whether they're trained to be, or whether they hope not to be. That is their job. These machines are complicated. Many of them are easily compromised. There are many certified state machines right now that do not meet the requirements of a voter-verified paper ballot, but they are still listed as certified. We would like at the public hearing to be able to explore these issues on the public record and to assist the county in making the next purchase. We know that that involves millions of dollars, and that this body is very careful about how it spends its citizens' money. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Rizzo, and I'm a resident of Newark, New Jersey. I am here once again to ask that the freeholders end Essex County's contract with ICE to hold immigrant detainees at the Essex County Jail. I first want to thank the freeholders for the letter that I received a few days ago in response to a question that I asked the last time I spoke before this body. However, I was unsatisfied with the reply. My question was in response actually to a document that I received from the freeholders, that many of us actually received, which noted that there are people held at the Essex County Jail who were picked up at the southern border. One of the arguments, of course, that's been made to keep the contract with ICE is that detainees will be closer to their families if they are from this area. So my concern was that if there are people who are picked up at the southern border and brought to Essex County, then that argument holds no water. In response, this board told me that ICE does not keep track of how many people are picked up at the southern border and brought to Essex County. I find that hard to believe on one hand, but if it is true, then it is truly a dereliction of duty on the part of ICE and, frankly, the county government to not know where people are being transferred from to this facility. Secondly, I wanted to just mention a recent report, in fact, I believe it was yesterday, that I heard on WNYC, which is an expose, a several-part expose about the condition of New Jersey's county jails. If you haven't heard the first piece of it, I certainly suggest that you listen to it because it is a damning report in many ways. And in fact, by one count, WNYC reports, New Jersey jails have the highest rates of death in custody of any large jail system in the nation, and the rate of suicide in New Jersey jails rose an average of 55% each year between 2012 and 2016. Now that's based on the info these reporters could get, but we all know that there's a wall of silence around these county jails and these facilities so that it is difficult to know what's going on inside of them. That being said, researchers have done amazing work to find out what the conditions are. And as I have said before, the most recent report by a group called Human Rights Watch has called the conditions at the Essex County Jail, the facility that you monitor and control, inhumane. This is happening on your watch, and it is your responsibility. I would suggest, again, that one way to deal with this situation is to phase out the contract by not taking in any new detainees. This is an approach that was tried in Atlanta successfully and ended their contract in a safe, rational, slow but speedy way. And I think there would be broad support from many organizations for this plan. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Katie Singer. I live in Millburn, New Jersey, and I teach in the Newark Public Schools. I am responding to a letter that I received from you when I asked a question regarding the ICE contract, which I too am asking that the freeholders break. So it started, Dear Ms. Singer, and I did want to ask if you are going to use the title, then you can use Doctor, which would be appropriate. My question was, are you taking a stand that you will not break the ICE contract? And the letter from President Gill reads in part as follows. In recent months, the Essex County contract with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to house detainees suspected of entering the country illegally has been an issue for concerned citizens of the county. So we house detainees that must first be brought in or arrested, often for committing no crime whatsoever. So in housing these detainees, we incentivize this fugitive slave law type activity. The letter continues. This is one of the most difficult issues that I have encountered on the board of chosen freeholders. All people are entitled to human rights, dignity, and equal protection under the law. However, ending the contract with ICE will not resolve the issues that some, including the current detainees and their families, are facing due to the federal directive. We all don't believe that ending the ICE contract will necessarily resolve the issues faced due to the often illegal actions of federal employees. But what we think it will resolve is the immorality of receiving funding generated from human bondage. The letter continues, as the president of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, I've always upheld my oath to protect the Constitution and allow lawful government to proceed without obstruction. The Essex County Administration's contract with ICE is lawfully in place. Yes, we know it is lawful. And I think we all know the list of lawful things in our country's history that people have fought against and succeeded in making unlawful, like, I don't know, slavery. While I respect the concerns voiced, the freeholder ends, we have the right to disagree on the approach to resolving the issues. So here I believe you might actually have answered my question, albeit indirectly. If you disagree with the concerns voiced here, then you're not concerned with the abolition of the ICE contract, and thus are taking a stand that you will indeed not attempt to break the ICE contract. So I'm glad we got that straightened out. Very depressing.
So just one point for the record. The written response does not speak for my colleagues. So just to be clear, my colleagues are able to respond to these questions just like I did in writing, if they so choose, and I do not, although I am the president for the board, I do not speak for my colleagues on this particular issue.
Good evening. My name is Whitney Strube. I'm a resident of Newark, and I'm here once again as well to ask you to break the contract with ICE. I want to revisit a sort of theme I had discussed the last time around, which is when are the Democrats going to resist the Republican agenda of detention and deportation in a racist immigration system? At the local level, we're constantly told to look to the federal level. When I look to the federal level, I see children being tear-gassed at the border, and I see Chuck Schumer responding to that by agreeing to fund a border wall. That is disgusting and disappointing. And then I turn my attention back to the local level, where I see my local elected officials contracting with ICE. I don't know where within the Democratic Party to turn to find actual resistance. And so with the time I have, I just want to suggest that the two arguments that I've basically heard from the freeholders in the time I've been engaged with this issue are a moral argument and an economic argument. And the moral argument is that this is for the good of the detainees because it keeps them close to their families. I don't find that to be a compelling argument. I've asked repeatedly for a number of how much money the county has committed to immigrant legal defense services, and I've never gotten a number. I got a generic form letter that said there's a program that people can apply to. I asked for a number, and so I ask again formally, I would like to know how much money Essex County has actually contributed toward detainee legal defense. Because the cases I'm familiar with are people who don't have lawyers. I've mentioned Manny Othat's a 20-year-old who grew up in the United States and was deported to Uruguay this year. He tried to fund his lawyer through GoFundMe.com. That's really humiliating in a county that's taking $30 million from ICE annually and does not provide the services needed for the people who are detained and suffering here. And the second argument that I've heard made, especially from our Essex County executive, is that this keeps taxes low. And I don't even know that I find that compelling anymore, because when you think about the structures of our county government, a lot of this ICE contract money is going back to fund a bloated correctional facility staff. You know, we don't need all of these corrections officers after bail reform, and we're taking this ICE money just to sort of keep this monster alive, this carceral state. And there is a precedent, of course, for reducing the county employees. In fact, it's something Joe DiVincenzo takes pride in. In the 2018 budget, as reported by Tap Into Newark,
30
Essex County's
seconds.
workforce has been reduced from a high of almost 4,000 employees in 2003 to 3,550 in the 2018 budget proposal. This was a point of pride for Joe DiVincenzo, so there's clearly a precedent for laying off county workers, which I'm actually against as a general rule, but for people who are doing harmful work such as detaining immigrants, I do think a workforce reduction and a retraining program for more healthy and socially contributing positions would be useful. And so in other words, I just don't find compelling the reasons for this
Time's up.
contract existing, and I ask you to finally end it and resist the Republican agenda. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yael Weber. I am an Essex County resident. I am also here once again to request that Essex County end our contract with ICE to house ICE detainees at Essex County Correctional Facility. A few weeks ago, I was at Shabbat morning services when the county and most of the local municipalities, as far as I'm aware, dispatched officers to ensure that we were all safe in the wake of Pittsburgh, and I knew when the officers came to my synagogue that they were there to protect me. I know that the structures that we have in place here are designed to keep me and people like me safe. Not all of my neighbors have that. I think that it's criminal that in Essex County we have thousands of immigrants who live in fear of law enforcement because our county is collaborating to keep immigrants detained without charges indefinitely. I recently was the 80th anniversary of Kristallnacht, and a synagogue member at the synagogue I belong to spoke about his experiences as a child when he was there in Germany. And the lesson of that is that we have to remember, and that we have to learn from these lessons of history. Last night I was at a JNF event, the Jewish National Fund, where there was another speaker whose father was a Holocaust survivor who talked again on the theme of remembering and learning from our history. And I want to know what good that does. If we remember and if we learn from our history and if we see toddlers being tear gassed at our southern border and we allow this slide into ethnic cleansing and we don't do anything, what good does it do to remember if we are not going to act? I understand that we don't have, as a county, the power to end the entirety of what the federal government is doing, but we don't have to be complicit. We don't have to continue to participate in this system. We can end the contract immediately. We can choose to continue housing the detainees who are already here close to their families while refusing to accept new detainees and ending this system in which there's an incentive to incarcerate people. Please end the contract. Thank you.
Good evening, Gwendolyn Franklin, live in Rockaway, work for Essex County, New Jersey. I came up on October 17th and I asked if the freeholders would hold an investigation and a full audit on time and attendance, because it seems like so many people are losing their dollars and it's becoming a financial struggle for some people because they do not want to come up here, fear that they may get fired. And I received the response, and I'm glad you cleared that up, Mr. Gill, in reference to that everyone could have responded. But your response was the new time and attendance system has been operational since February 2016 at the Department of Citizen Service and Department of Economic Development, Training, and Employment, and has been operating effectively, which is not true. So this is just my paperwork, just trying to get my hours back just for like a week. So I'm going back in almost like 2 years for an audit for myself. So I'm asking a second time for a full audit and investigation on time and attendance. So I looked up what the responsibilities of a freeholder is. And two of them really caught my eye, which is appoint an accountant of New Jersey to perform audits. The other one was to conduct investigations. So all I'm asking is that an investigation be done for time and attendance, because people are really actually suffering. And it seems like it's going on deaf ears. And now they're putting a new thing, they said starting in January, that no matter if you lose your time, if you put it in incorrectly, you will not be able to get your dollars for 6 to 8 months. And that is definitely horrible, against the law in so many levels. So I'm asking one more time for a full audit investigation, because I think it's really theft by deception for the people of New Jersey. Because it's not only happening to where I work, 50 South Clinton, it's happening in DIFAS, it's happening around the state in hospitals. People have been calling me, telling me that ever since that system has been in, they've been losing dollars. So how many dollars are really being lost, and where are those lost dollars being applied to, is my question. Thank
30
you.
seconds.
I'm done.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there's no one wishing to speak at this time. No. No. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and first reading?
Mr. President, we have none.
Okay. Do we have any ordinances or resolutions for listing purposes only?
Mr. President, we have none.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions on second reading and public hearing tonight?
Mr. President, yes. We have ordinance number O-2018-0017, an ordinance requiring individuals and businesses awarded bids through the competitive contracting and public bidding process of and by the County of Essex County for professional services and for the provisions of goods and non-professional services to advertise for job openings directly related to the contract awarded in one or more newspapers based in any municipality in Essex County, or in online job placement services targeted at Essex County residents.
Okay, I hereby declare the public hearing on ordinance O-2018-00017 open. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment for or against this ordinance, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing none, Mr. Parlavecchio, do you have any questions or comments?
Just a comment that this was, on first reading, discussed with some passion by Freeholder Bauer, who was along with Freeholder Vice President, was a champion of this ordinance, and in an effort to make jobs available to more Essex County residents.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McInerney?
No question, Mr. President.
Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, Freeholders, do I have a motion and a second to close the public?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President
Second.
Richardson, second by Freeholder Mercado. Do I have the same mover and second to approve the ordinance?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sewell.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I also just request that your office send an email with the ordinance to Ms. Bauer and congratulate her for the work that she did on getting this done, even though she wasn't here with us tonight. Moving to resolution number 1, Madam Clerk, please read it.
Resolution 1, Department of Economic Development, Training and Employment, Division of Housing and Community Development, authorization for Division of Housing and Community Development to reprogram Home Investment Partnership Home Program funds in the amount of $750,000 to fund a loan to White Rock Urban Renewal Associates.
Mr. Jackson.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, and particularly welcome Freeholder Cooper to the meeting. Glad to see you.
Thank you.
Mr. Serio from our office is here to explain this particular resolution, Mr. President.
Good evening, President Gill and members of the Board of Chosen Freeholders. This is a loan to White Rock, which is a subsidiary of RPM Development, LLC. I brought the representative from RPM tonight, Mr. Joe Portelli, to explain.
Would you please put your name
Sure, George
on the
Ciro,
record?
Director, Division of Housing and Community Development. Getting back to the deal, it's a tax credit deal for affordable housing being developed in North Caldwell. It'll be the first such development that our office has funded in North Caldwell. RPM has a really extensive portfolio of projects, a number of which the county has funded with home funds in the past. I'd like to ask Joe Portelli to come up and just explain the structure of the partnership with White Rock for the record.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Portelli. I'm Vice President of Development from RPM Development Group. And White Rock Urban Renewal Associates is an entity that we formed solely for the purpose of owning, constructing, and operating 50 units of affordable housing in North Caldwell. And it is a partnership between RPM and PNC Bank, which is purchasing the tax credits that provide most of the funding for the project. It's as straightforward as that.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
Mr. President, as the board may recall, there was a lack of detail in the documentation we received at the last meeting with regard to this resolution. That detail was who, in fact, were the owners of White Rock LLC, was not in the documentation. So myself and Freeholder Richardson took exception to that and needed to have that answered.
Thank you, Mr. McInerney. Freeholders, any questions or comments? Vice President Richardson.
Yeah, I have a few questions. So, White Rock is a subsidiary of RPM. So who's the owner of RPM?
Once again, I'll ask Joe Portelli to step up to the mic and identify the principals.
Principal of RPM
No
Development.
name for the record, please.
Joseph Portelli. The principal of RPM is Edward Martoglio.
And who's the owner of White Rock Urban Renewal?
There are two entities that comprise White Rock, PNC Bank and an RPM entity controlled.
So PNC Bank and Ed Martoglio?
Effectively, yes.
What do you mean effectively?
Mr. Martoglio is the sole owner of an entity, an RPM entity that manages the entity. So it's just two entities that comprise the...
So it's Ed Martoglio who runs both of them?
Yes, the RPM entities, yes.
Yeah, I don't understand the effectiveness. So let me ask you a couple more questions as I read through this.
Okay.
So the project-specific property manager would come from whom? Would that be White Rock, or would that be from RPM?
RPM is the property manager.
Okay. So the management team, RPM's management team, including accounting, leasing, staff, recertification, so those are all things that RPM would be compensated for?
Yes.
And who would compensate them? White Rock? I'm trying to understand how this partnership works with one guy who really owns both entities and how he gets how it works.
Sure. White Rock Urban Renewal contracts with RPM for property management services, and we perform the lease up, the tenant income certification, recertification, the day-to-day operations. And
so the owner, Ed Martoglio, am I saying his name correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Ed Martoglio is really subsidizing himself. He's really paying himself because he owns both entities. Is that correct?
the project operations pay the management fee.
But Ed is the owner of both entities.
Yes.
So if he owns both entities, So the money that's coming in from White Rock, he's gonna pay himself at RPM.
Yes, RPM earns the fees from the project, yes.
Thank you. Nice work if we can get.
Freeholders, questions or comments? Freeholders, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper. Do I have a second? Motion by Freeholder Cooper. Do I have a second?
Freeholder President, before we
Freeholder
continue, can the administration just give us a little bit more of a overview and a snapshot as to this contract? Anything else that you could just add, Mayor Jackson?
I'll look to Mr. Scirio if you could.
Yeah, you'd have to withdraw the motion.
Hold on one second. Can I just have an opinion from council?
Yeah, you just withdraw the motion, go back into discussion.
Freeholder.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholder Luciano.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, with your permission.
Yep, please.
George Sierra, Director, Division of Housing Community Development. From the home program perspective, it's a gap financing program. The county receives roughly on a given year between $1.6, $1.8 million. This particular project is close to $12 million. $750,000 from our home program is going to be leveraged against a significant amount of funds. In order to get a project of this scale underway, you need tax credit dollars. The tax credit program is a federal program. Each state is allocated tax credits, and it's syndicated by by investors who put up the money to develop these projects. Without the tax credit program, there would be no affordable housing development anywhere in the country. Tax credits create 75% of the affordable housing in our country. The deals that are presented through tax credits are all structured very similarly to this way. The investors require the developer to set up a subsidiary. And I'd like to ask Joe Patelli just to, comment on that, because they do these all the time. But that's typically how a tax credit deal is structured with a for-profit developer. I'd like to ask Joe Patelli just to dovetail off that.
Joseph Portelli. We have a portfolio of about 4,000 units across the state of New Jersey, and each and every project is set up the same way, at least the ones that have tax credits anyway. The tax credit investor at PNC Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, TD Bank, we've worked with a number of the banks. They acquire a 99% ownership interest in the partnership, and we, RPM, only hold a 99.99% partnership interest, and the RPM entity only owns 0.01% interest in the project. And as George explained, we sell these tax credits to the banks to fund development costs to build these units that otherwise would not occur without the different subsidies that we pull together to fund these projects. And they're federal sources, state sources, county sources, other local sources. In this case, the Borough of North Caldwell has donated the land to the entity. They're also contributing about $725,000 of their affordable housing trust funds. So we're pulling sources from a number of different places to fund these 50 units, which serve very low, and moderate income households.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I ask this? It sounds like it to me. These will be rental units.
Yes.
And the scale of what do the units look like? Are they 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
It's a mix of 1, 2s, and 3-bedroom units, and they're townhome style.
Townhome setup. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what is, if you're free to speak to it, the cost of the entire project for the development of this whole site?
It's approaching $15 million. Yeah, we're spending quite a bit of money on site work costs. I don't know if you've been up there recently or have seen it, but there's about a 125-foot grade change from top to bottom for our site. So of the hilltop, the 50 units are probably being built on arguably one of the most challenging parts of the site.
And this is subject to local planning and zoning review?
Yes, and we've already received those approvals.
You've got the approvals already?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is it just the 50 affordable units, or is this 50 units part of a larger development with market rate units as well?
No, but it's only for 50 units of affordable housing, yes.
Thank you.
Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you. Are all the other funding sources committed in place?
Yes. Yeah, we're actually working on a closing now and hoping to start later next month.
Mr. President, if I might add to that, the requirement of the home...
Name for the record, please.
George Serio, Director of Housing Community Development. To answer that last question, the home program requirement is that all other sources must be firmly committed before the county can commit home funds to a project. That's a regulation under the program.
So if this body doesn't approve this $750,000 that you're seeking, what will happen to the project?
I'm not sure where
Name
we
for the record each time you
Joseph
speak.
Portelli. I'm not sure where we would come up with another $750,000 at this stage to get started.
One follow-up question.
Carl Vecchio.
Just a follow-up question. This is a loan, not a grant, correct?
Correct.
What are the repayment terms on this loan?
It's structured as a 30-year loan, like all of our subsidies in our different projects. It's an interest-bearing loan, and it gets repaid from cash flow.
Gets repaid, okay. Is there a, this isn't a forgivable loan in any
No.
respect, is it? Okay. So there will be payback to the funding source, the county?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Freeholders. Vice President Richardson.
What are the cost of a one-bedroom, two-bedroom, and three-bedroom? What are the costs?
The monthly rent?
Yes.
For a one-bedroom, they'll range from approximately $300 a month for a three-bedroom, about $1,300 a month. So we've got rents that serve different income levels between, I'm giving you the low rent and the high rent.
Is this based on the median AMI?
Yes, as published by HUD on an annual basis. And it serves different incomes at each bedroom type, too. So it's stratified across unit types and income levels.
Freeholders. Additional questions?
Mr. President, if I just wanted to ask Mr. Serio. Mr. Serio, historically, how many of these projects have we done in the past? Could you give the board a sense that's been approved?
Once again, Mr. President, through you, George Serio, Director, Division of Housing and Community Development. In the past year, we have done 2 other tax credit deals with developers with similar structures. Both were with Alper Group, who did a project in Orange, and adjacent to that property on the West Orange side, it's underway now. It's also the Alper Group, also a tax credit deal funded with home dollars from our office, similar structures.
Vice President Richardson.
So how many loans has RPM or White Rock gotten from the county over the years? How much do they owe? What's outstanding?
Once again, Mr. President, through you, I'm looking at a sheet that we compiled. Currently, there are 7 projects funded with home dollars through the County of Essex in the following jurisdictions: 2 in East Orange, 2 in Newark, and 3 in Orange. The home loan investments were totaling $6.9 million. I don't have the terms in front of me as far as when they're scheduled to be paid back, but I can provide those once we go back to the office and look at the...
This is Vice President Richardson. This is attached to your If you look at the last page on the,
Mr. President, also I'd like to add that RPM has been current on all payments due to the county.
I see the last page, but the last page doesn't reference the question that I just asked.
I just wanted to make sure you knew he was reading off the.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I saw it.
Gotcha.
I read it.
Additional questions? A motion?
Motion.
Moved by Freeholder Cooper. Have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares. Absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Present, not voting.
So moved.
Moving to resolution number 2, 3, and 4, which have been withdrawn by the administration. So moving to resolution number 5. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 5, Department of Administration and Finance, Office of Management and Budget, transfer resolution.
Okay, I'm good. You can leave him right here. Thanks. There you go. Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Mr. Acker is here for items 5 and 6.
Thank you.
Would you like to read 6?
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, President Gill, members of the board. Mark Acker, I'm the Director of the Department of Administration and Finance. This is the first crack we get to adjust our budget. As you are aware, we adopted the budget back in the late winter, like in the March timeframe. A lot has changed, and legally we cannot adjust our budget until November. So we have our first transfer resolution in front of you. It's in excess of $4,175,000. A good portion of it is going to various salary and wage accounts in nominal type amounts, just to reflect the fact that things have changed during the year, as opposed to what we thought was going to happen when we put the budget in place back in February, March. There are some notable numbers. We're moving $500,000 into roads and bridges. That's for snow removal. Their budget for the year is just about exhausted, so we're anticipating perhaps $500,000 more. If it doesn't get used, it'll get lapsed a year from now into the snow reserve fund. Our sheriff's salary and wages, $1,025,000, primarily due to overtime and what is referred to as time due. That relates to a contractual provision as far as compensatory hours that they earn. If they don't use it, they can cash it in at year end. We're also salaries and wages for the jail, $630,000 we're moving in. That reflects additional overtime. Parks and Recreation, we're moving $650,000 into the maintenance of parks. A good portion of that is to fund a new snow removal contract that the park system took bids for just recently to address the snow removal at the various parks. And again, they're the bigger amounts. The rest of it is pretty much just making adjustments to the various budgets to reflect actual, reality versus what we thought back in March. Again, it's $4,175,924. Where we get the money, it's a simple process. Whatever budgets have money available, we grab.
Okay. Mr. Parlecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
Mr. President, we reviewed these at the leadership meeting and also reviewed them myself. Mr. Acker explained where the money's going to. The money's coming, half of the money is coming from the hospital center salaries and wages, which is no surprise. Typically, that cost center has money left over at the end of the year, so that is fairly consistent with what we've seen in prior years. So other than that, I have no other comments on this, and recommend its approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McInerney. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Any additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk. I'm sorry. Freeholder Cooper, second? Okay.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares. Absent Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones. Yes. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 6.
Resolution 6, Department of Administration and Finance, Office of Accounts and Controls, resolution authorizing third-party payroll disbursements.
Again, Mark Acker, Director of Department of Administration and Finance. We're undertaking a very monumental type process right now where we're converting all of our software to new vendors. Our fiscal system is going to a firm named MSI. That process is moving along extremely smoothly for a January 1 conversion. The reason for this resolution, it pertains to our payroll. We're taking what is currently an in-house payroll system, and we're taking it to a third-party vendor. It's called Unicorn. And in that process, Unicorn will be distributing our payroll payments for us. They'll make the tax payments, IRS, federal, state. They'll make the Social Security payments, garnishee payments, all other deductions we'll continue to make, Federal Credit Union, et cetera. But to formalize the process, we need to have this body pass a resolution authorizing the third-party vendor, Unicorn in our case, to act as our payroll agent as far as dispersing our payroll funds. There are controls in place. Our Hassan Mohammed, our CFO, he will have access to the IRS sites to make sure that tax payments are made. We'll receive monthly account reconciliations from Unicorn. But again, to formalize the process, we need this body to pass a resolution designating them as our third-party vendor on our behalf.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
Again, it was stated at the leadership meeting that the county had our auditor, Samuel Klein, review this and are satisfied that the controls are in place so that there won't be any problems. I'm assuming that prior to this, though, we had to approve a contract for them? Is that correct?
Yes, that was earlier in the year to start the conversion process.
Right. And with that contract review came things like performance bonds and liability insurances and things like that that were also required. So as far as I'm concerned, this is just more or less a formality to make sure that the payroll agency account is accessible by the vendor.
Correct.
And Mr. McInerney's record, they're under state contract.
Okay, good. Okay, that's even better.
Great. Okay. Freeholders? Any questions, Freeholders? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebel, second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 7.
Resolution 7, the Office of the Sheriff's contract with Light Feld Ammunition Corp. to provide a light-filled brown 12-gauge hybrid Sabat ammunition for Essex County deer hunt per price quotation amount not to exceed $1,890.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Excuse me, Mr. President, this is ammunition for the plan for the February hunt. We will be from operating funds, and this complies with your responsibility ordinance with respect to ammunition and firearms, and the safety control mechanism accountability will be with the the sheriff's office.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebel.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 8.
Resolution 8, Office of the Sheriff Contract Award to Signal Electric Corporation, the sole responsive and responsible bidder to provide preventive maintenance of the sheriff's security and help desk services, 24-month agreement, amount not to exceed $194,000.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Mr. Durnovoy is here from Signal Electric to address this particular contract. This is a time and material contract with this company and open-ended as needed. Mr. Durnovoy.
Good
You can
evening.
adjust the mic by squeezing right underneath.
Good evening, Vadim Durnovoy, Signal Electric.
Good evening. Can you tell us a little bit about the contract and your company?
Sure. We're a security systems integrator, and we assist the Sheriff's Office with ongoing maintenance of their video surveillance and card access systems that they're employed at the court's offices and various buildings that they operate.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Questions or comments? Do you have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebel.
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 9.
Resolution 9, Office of the Prosecutor, resolution approving the participation with the State of New Jersey federal grant program administered by the Office of Attorney General, Department of Law and Public Safety, accepting sub-award BS-31-17 for period October 1st, 2018 to September 30th, 2019.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. President, this is a resolution that's required by the state for us to participate in this particular program. This is for a response team, an examination program for victims of sexual assault in the county, and to continue professional development for nurse examiners, provide supplies and equipment, and expand the services at hospital sites for pediatric victims. It requires an in-kind match of $26,848, salary and wages, no cash match. Cash. Easy for me to say, cash to match.
Say it again. Mr. Parlavecchio?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Jackson, does this grant fund a particular position, or is it for the entire unit?
It's for the response team.
For the whole
funding
team.
response team.
Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Johnson.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Present, no vote.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 10.
Resolution 10, 2018 County Budget, insertion of items of revenue from the State of New Jersey, Department of Law and Public Safety for Sexual Assault, Response Team, Nurse Examiner, Office of the Prosecutor, $107,391.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, this is the budget insertion that goes along with the companion of item number 9. Now that the board has approved that, and this is the companion inserting $107,391 into our budget.
Very good. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover?
I'll move it again.
Moved by Freeholder Johnson.
Second.
Second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Present, no vote.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 11.
Resolution 11, Department of Corrections Contract Award to DCO Energy to provide maintenance of building systems at the Essex County Correctional Facility, exercising 2-year contract extension option, amount not to exceed $8,578,984.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Mr. Boyd, Director Boyd, and the vendor are here to explain.
Good evening, freeholders. David Boyd, Deputy Director, Essex County Corrections. I'm here to answer any questions you have on Resolution 11.
Do we have the vendor here?
Yes.
We have the vendor.
Yes, through you, Mr. President, the vendor, DCO Energy, is here. Their Executive Vice President, Fred Eckert, and David D'Alessandro are here to speak about their company. What the department is asking for is a 2-year extension to a currently approved contract, and I'll turn the mic over to Mr. Eckert now.
Good evening, Director and Board of Chosen Freeholders. My name is Fred Eckert, Vice President of Operations for DCO Energy. We are a operations and maintenance service company at this facility. We've been operating and maintaining the facility in Essex for about 14 years since the jail was built there. DCO Energy also owns the cogeneration unit at the facility. We have operations and maintenance personnel also at the Juvenile Detention Center, and we have operations and maintenance personnel at the Psychiatric Hospital. And earlier this year, we were awarded the operations and maintenance at the vocational school. We value our relationship with Essex County, take pride in the work we do. These are all bid contracts. We were the low bidder in all these contracts. And we have a very good minority participation. I think we show that on the example. This contract has specifically around 14 personnel in it, 3 non-manual personnel. That's a plant manager, an operations and maintenance planner, and a administrator. They're the non-manual personnel. And the 14 technicians. We operate the facility 24/7. There's an individual at the BMS, Building Management System, 24 hours a day. In addition to that, there's 6 mechanics that work 8 to 10 hours a day maintaining the facility. And we do have we do maintain all the locks, the doors, the potable water, the building management system, the fire system, lift stations in the back, all the lighting, all the painting in the facility. We do all the exercise equipment, we do the kitchen equipment, we do maintenance for the whole facility. Any questions?
Freeholder? Vice President Richardson? Oh.
I'm deferred.
Freeholder Siebold?
You've been doing this for 14 years, right?
We've been maintaining the facility at this prison, at the correctional facility, since it was being built. We were there during the construction of the facility, operating, maintaining the systems, and I believe it's been around 14 years at this point.
Well, obviously, you're doing a good job because I've never heard of any complaints.
Thank you. Another thing I do want to add, This is all a union shop. We're all local 68 operating engineers. Okay, there's around 42 total people in Essex County that we have. Out of those 42, 6 of them are really non-manual managers. The remaining 38 are all operating engineers, local 68.
Continue your good work.
Thank you.
Vice President Richardson?
No question. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
I ruined it for you.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover?
Move it.
McInerney.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go.
Oh, yeah, you forgot.
We need to hear from our professionals. Mr. Parlavecchio?
Just a comment that this was originally bid in 2017 as a 2-year contract with the option to extend for an additional 2 years. So this is that 2-year extension off of the original bid.
Okay, Mr. McInerney?
A couple questions here. One is, can you just confirm that it's a 1% increase over the previous contract? That's what I was told, that the increase in this contract over the previous 2 years was 1%. Is that correct?
David Boyd, Deputy Director, Essex County Corrections. Through you, Mr. President, yes, it's a 1%. It's actually a little bit less than minutely 1%, but yes, 1% increase over the previous 2 years.
Okay. And as I recall, within this contract, there are, I think, 2 different funds. One is for repairs and maintenance, and I thought the other one was for parts. Maybe it's, maybe I have that mixed up. But these are funds within the contract. I forget the dollar amounts, but it's almost on an as-needed basis. So if these amounts within these funds are not used, that money reverts back to the county, or is not expended by the county. The contract is actually reduced by the amount of those funds that are not utilized. And I was wondering if you can just confirm that and then explain those funds to us.
Again, David Boyd, Essex County Corrections. Through you, Mr. President, that is accurate. Frank, there are 2 funds here. There are parts that are built into the contract and one that the county controls. After 2 years of this contract, the department will be giving back $308,000 to the county, and then we'll proceed with the contract if approved by the freeholders.
How much is the repair and maintenance fund?
Just to clarify, Frank, how much would that parts budget be?
Yes.
So on average, both combined would average about $130,000 a month. Both combined, yes.
A month, okay. All right, that's
yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, David. Appreciate that.
Okay, freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do you have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold, second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson. Yes. Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. We're going to move to, actually going to move to Resolution 19, which is also in corrections.
Now 12, though.
Resolution 19, Department of Corrections Professional Services Agreement to provide environmental engineering services for remedial investigation at the Essex County Correctional Facility. Remington and Vernick engineers, amount not to exceed $31,400.
Okay. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Boyd.
David Boyd, Deputy Director, Essex County Corrections. First of all, thank you, freeholders, for moving the item up to match with corrections. Through you, Mr. President, this is, as we should all know, about 14, when the facility was built, it was built on the Celanese chemical property on the Doremus Avenue corridor, which was planned as a brownfield site. So construction on those sites required that there would be certain requirements that would have to go to the DEP. One of them was groundwater monitoring and then a standard LSRP permit. All sounds very technical, but it really isn't. It's just to make sure that whatever possible contamination occurred while those sites were being used as a chemical plant would not go into the groundwater and that the current occupant would not be subjected to that. Over the first 10 years, we were required to test the water on a regular basis and submit those results to the DEP. We're in a stage now where it's really just a paperwork function. It's your standard groundwater classification exemption area. So there's some oversight that we need a licensed engineer to oversee the project, and then we have to report to the DEP on a regular basis. And that's what Remington Vernick is doing in this contract.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Mr. Parlecchio?
Thank you. Mr. Boyd, is this, you said the first phase of this, the monitoring was 10 years, and now we're into this paperwork end of it. Does this have a time span, or is this until further notice by the DEP based on what is reported?
Through you, Mr. President, it is on a, it is at the full discretion of the DEP as to when this would end.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Questions or comments? Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Mercado.
Second?
Second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 12.
Resolution 12, Department of Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs Contract Award to McCloskey Mechanical Contractors, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder to provide miscellaneous HVAC services to various Essex County facilities, 24-month agreement, amount not to exceed $328,700.
Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Zates.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Number 12 is a contract award for HVAC services through the county park system. This is for any facility in the park system with the exception of the zoo. The zoo is going to have its own separate HVAC contract that we hope to come back to the board with soon. And we do have a representative from the McCluskey here.
Good evening. Peter Jagursky representing McCloskey Mechanical. We're a 33-year-old company here in New Jersey. We employ almost 100 people, men and women, all across New Jersey and northern Pennsylvania. We do large projects from supermarkets, big box retailers, all the way down to sports stadiums. I personally do several school systems encompassing huge air conditioning systems and their heating plants, and all from Lodi and Bergen County all the way down to Pleasantville and Atlantic County. We employ many people here in Essex County, and we have a diverse group of mechanics that are supplied to by the United Association, men and women. And with that, I'm open to questions.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Questions or comments? Vice President Richardson?
You're a union shop?
Yes, we are.
Questions, freeholders? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Paparas, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 13.
Resolution 13, Department of Economic Development,
Mr.
Training and
President.
Mr.
Employment.
Jackson?
I'm sorry, Mr. President. If we might beg your indulgence one more time, we do have item 47, which is parks as well, which was the late starter.
That was 47, the added starter?
Yes. I apologize profusely, but if we could, that would be helpful.
No, we can withdraw 13 and move to resolution number 44.
7.
Don't have it on my sheet.
Didn't make it to mine. Came on late.
Is it added?
Added.
I got you, but I'm asking my clerk and my counsel, do we have it on the agenda?
Yes.
It's on the agenda.
It's on the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay. Mr. Jackson?
Yes,
Well,
Mr.
I'm going to say, I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson. Moving to Resolution 47, we'll read it into record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Mr. Zates.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Thank you, Mr. President, for moving number 47 up. We do have both vendors here for this contract. I will briefly explain it. This is for snow removal on sidewalks and pathways within the park system. So this is strictly for sidewalks on the outer edges of the various parks throughout the county. And also it would be for clearings in front of any senior buildings that are open during the winter seasons. There are 5 zones. No bidder is allowed to be awarded more than 3 of those zones. So we have one bidder, Rudd Services, who is a low bidder on 3 of the areas, and then VIP Services is the low bidder on 2 of the other areas. I'll briefly go over the zones. There's Zone A, which is Watsessing, Glenfield, Brookdale, Anderson, Cedar Grove. Zone B, Belleville, Yannicor, Branchbrook. Zone C is Irvington and Weequahic. D, Valesburg, Ivy Hill, and Monte Irvin. And finally, Zone E is Independence, Riverbank, and Riverfront. This is a 15-and-a-half-month contract. It would run from December 1st of this year through April 15th of next year, then pick up again November 1st of next year, run until April 15th of 2020, and then finally the third year would be November 1st of 2020 till April 15th of 2021. And we do have both vendors here to speak more about this to the board.
I'm Ken Roosh, owner of Roosh Services, and we currently do the snow removal at South Mountain Reservation for the past few years. In the winter, we have approximately 50 employees, approximately 25% minority. We are non-union. We also do work for the County of Morris doing their housing authority buildings. And that's all I have.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Would you prefer me to bring up VIP services at this time, or?
Bring up VIP.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Luke Ward. I'm owner and general manager of VIP Special Services located in West Orange. We are a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business located in a hub zone and certified as such. I formed the LLC in 2005. We've been providing building and property maintenance services throughout the last 13 years, specializing in high-rise window cleaning and snow removal. That's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Ms. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Vice President Richardson?
How many employees do you have, and how many are from Essex County?
100% of our employees are from Essex County. We have 12 full-time employees and 12 part-time employees.
Outstanding. Can we get the other vendor back up here? Same question.
Yeah, we don't have, I don't think we have any employees from Essex County, but I do definitely plan on having employees for these particular contracts. That's my plan. Because the last storm, we had trouble getting to Turtleback Zoo. So I want to have people from Essex County close by for this.
So what's your outreach plan? How do you plan on
I'm going to reach
achieving your goals?
I'm going to reach out to some people that I work with at the zoo and ask them how I can get in touch with.
Just make sure you leave your contact information. I may be able to help you with some Essex County residents.
That'd be awesome.
Be willing to do that.
That'd be awesome.
Joshua Zates, Essex County Parks. Through you, Mr. President, we'll also work with the vendor and the small business office to get the information into the public's hands.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do you have a mover and a second?
Second it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold, second by Freeholder Jones. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson, absent. Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Mares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 13, Madam Clerk.
Resolution 13, Department of Economic Development, Training and Employment, Division of Training and Employment, authorization, a resolution indicating source and commitment of local matching funds for 2019, New Jersey dash SY 2019, New Jersey dash JARC 5 grant program.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Vieira is here, Mr. President.
Thank you, Freeholder President. Freeholders, Michael Vieira. I'm the Director of Special Transportation Services for the Division of Training and Employment. Resolutions actually 13, 14, and 15 are together. It is in relation to our Job Access Reverse Commute Transportation Program. The JARC program incorporates 3 transportation shuttles. It's our nationally renowned Essex Night Out, our Route 10 shuttle, and our Fairfield West Essex shuttle. With me here behind me is Kinga Scora. She's the Regional General Manager for Meadowlink, who has been a long time contractor for the County of Essex in relation to the JARC program. Resolution number 13 basically just tells you where our match money is coming from. New Jersey Transit is awarding the County of Essex $700,000 in job access reverse commute. However, we have to match it by $700,000. It's been done from the very beginning of that program. Resolution number 13 basically just tells you where our monies, our match monies are coming from.
This is 14.
Excuse me?
14, you said 13. 14.
Oh, 14 is the insertion. 13 speaks about where the money's coming from, the breakdown of the monies.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go on? 14 and 15, since it wasn't read.
I'm
sorry.
Just so we're, right now we're on 13. If you want to address 14 and 15, you can, and we'll read them into the record at a later time.
Okay. Resolution 14 is just asking for the insertion of the New Jersey Transit portion of the $700,000 for the Job Access Reverse Commute Program. And resolution number 15 is the contract of $1.4 million with the County of Essex and Meadowlink.
Okay. Ms. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
Just so I have it straight, I'm looking at the sources of all of the $1.4 million in the decision memorandum. So the JARC is what's coming from the bottom one, the $700,000.
That is coming from New Jersey Transit.
Okay. And so all these other items above, which also come to $700,000, are they, I don't understand the number designation on the side. Are these coming from the county budget, or are they coming from other budgets?
I believe what our office had done was that's the county's number for the fund. Okay. How they draw down on that money in accounts payable.
Okay, so these other 700 is coming out of county appropriations, out of these various line items.
Out of certain grants, the $350,000 is actually county monies. It's county. It gives us $350,000. The $280 comes out of a Work First New Jersey state grant. The $30,000 also comes out of a WIOA grant.
Okay.
The $20,000 comes out of a different type of WIOA grant, and the $20,000 on top, the city of Newark receives a WIOA grant. However, they turn that money over to the County of Essex.
Gotcha. So the only money out of our out of the county's appropriate, out of the county tax dollars, if you will, is the $350,000.
Correct, Mr. McInerney.
Okay, thank you very much. So out of 1.4, the county's in for 350.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you very much.
Freeholder Siebel, thank you.
Thank you. We're very fortunate that we have this program because it enables people to go from east to west and west to east in the county, and they're able to get to work because we have this transportation available. If we didn't have this transportation available, they wouldn't be able to go from one end of the county to the other. And I'd like to commend Michael Vieira for doing such a good work with this transportation.
Thank you, Freeholder.
Thank you. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, President. Just quickly for my own FYI, what's the difference between the three programs?
The three programs, Freeholder, and welcome to the Freeholder Board.
Thank you.
We have three programs. Actually, the first one is our Essex Night Out. It's nationally renowned. Actually, President Obama, when he was president, actually went on television and mentioned our Essex Night Out as one of the projects that other states should copy. That takes people from the towns of Newark Orange, East Orange, and Irvington, and it picks them up directly at their homes and brings them down to Newark Penn Station between the hours of 1 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the morning. That's important because it takes that third shift, and once they get to Penn Station, majority of the people go to Newark Liberty Airport because that's a 24-hour operation. However, once we send somebody to Penn Station, they can get jobs in New York, Jersey City, Hoboken. So the hub, Essex County's transportation hub is Penn Station. So once we get them there, they really have the workforce at their fingertips. The other two programs is our West Essex, Fairfield West Essex shuttle. There's a bus line in Fairfield. It's right on Bloomfield Avenue by the Essex Mall over there. And that's the final bus stop of New Jersey Transit. However, there's a lot of businesses down and back off of Route 46 and off of Bloomfield Avenue that people can't get to. We'll pick them up at that bus stop and take them into those work sites. And the same thing for the Route 10. If you're familiar with the Route 10, you have a Home Depot up there. That's the final stop of New Jersey's bus. However, there's a lot of businesses going west as well as going out to 46. We'll pick them up at that bus stop, and we'll also take them to 46 and 5 miles up Route 10.
Thank you.
And this is all free of charge.
Freeholders? I just concur with Freeholder Siebel. It's a fantastic program, and thank you for your leadership on it. It's a real jewel for the county, for sure. Do you have a motion in a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebel.
Just to take 13 through 15.
Thank you, Mr. Palavecchio. This will be to take resolutions 13, 14, and 15 together.
I'm moving all three.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Freeholders.
Thank you. Moving to resolution number 16. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 16, 2018 County Budget, insertion of items of revenue from the City of Newark for housing opportunities for people with AIDS, Division of County Community Action, $377,618.
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Mr. McCoy is here to address these two items.
Terrence McCoy, Division of Community Action. The Hopper Grant are HUD funds that are provided from the City of Newark to the county to assist our low-income constituents of individuals and families that fall 30% under the area of median income that cannot pay for their own rent. So the county will subsidize their rents for them to help them with housing stability.
Thank you. Mr. Palavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Vice President Richardson.
Through you, Mr. President. So the county will subsidize their rent for how long?
We have a program up until 5 years. And then we try to help them with permanent housing such as Section 8, Newark Housing Authority. It's ongoing until we can get them into permanent housing.
So for up to 5 years? And at what percentage?
We do 70% of their rent.
Thank you.
Freeholders? Questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson. Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to Resolution Number 17.
Resolution 17, 2018 County Budget Insertion of Items of Revenue from the State of New Jersey, Department of Human Services, Division of Family Development for Social Services for the Homeless, Division of Community Action, $3,427,414.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Ms. Ramos is here to explain.
Good evening, Maria Ramos, Division of Community Action. The request is to insert the budget for the 2019 contract with the social services for the homeless program. The program provides services like back rent, security deposit, shelter placement, and utility assistance. Since the contract started January 1st, we would like to have this budget inserted early this year so we could start as soon as January 1st.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders. Vice President Richardson.
So this money is distributed and through your office, through the county, or are there
It
other
comes from
vendors?
the state of Division of Family Development, the state, give it to the county, and we will subcontract vendors after this money is inserted. We have 23 already.
23 vendors.
Freeholders. Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you. How are the vendors selected?
We first have to insert the budget, but we're planning to do the same vendors that we have from the previous years that ended on December 31st of each year. Because it was 2 years RFP, so with a renewal contract of a year, but we're planning to keep the same vendors.
All right, so you did it by way of an RFP, and you're going to extend those vendors for another year?
Renewing the contract, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Freeholders.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Vice President Richardson.
So once this contract extension is over, then you have to go back out to bid?
We have to renew the contract at the beginning of January.
That's for 2019?
Mm-hmm.
And then when 2019 ends,
We have
2020 comes, then you have to go out to bid again, another
Yes,
RFP?
yes.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Freeholders. Have a mover and a second?
Motion.
Freeholder. Freeholder Mercado. Moved by Freeholder Mercado. Second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Palmares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Absolutely.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, very good. Moving to Resolution Number 18.
Resolution 18, 2018 County Budget Insertion of Items of Revenue from the State of New Jersey, Office of the Attorney General, Department of Law and Public Safety for Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative, Innovative Funding, Division of Youth Services, 120, is that 120,000?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson.
That's 120,000.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez is here. I thought you were asking me about the 120.
You see that? Did you see?
You're missing a zero.
I think there's a zero missing, but,
Yeah,
okay.
that's why I wanted to clarify.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, freeholders. My name is Jason Martinez, Director of Youth Service Commission. The Division of Youth Service Commission requests the amount of the approval of the 2019 Juvenile Detention Alternative Innovations Grant in the amount of $120,000. This award will provide services to at-risk youth for the period of January 1, 2019 to December 31st, 2019.
Very good. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Freeholders. I'm sorry, Ms. McInerney.
No
Excuse
questions,
me.
Mr. President. No
Freeholders. Vice President Richardson.
What exactly is the alternative initiative? What do you guys do?
So with this grant, we'll provide job opportunities for court-involved youth. We have parent peer support groups to identify gaps in services for youth and for youth and family summits for career and college development.
Thank you. Doesn't seem like enough. Why don't you ask for more?
Freeholders. Mover?
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Present,
Freeholder
no
Pomo- Freeholder Pomares. Absent Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you. Moving to resolution number 20.
Resolution 20, Board of Chosen Freeholders Contract Award to Jerry Shotal, DBA Golden Star Video, to provide video recording for the Board of Freeholders meetings for 2019, exercising second one-year option to the contract amount not to exceed $55,000.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
I would defer to
Oh,
this-
actually,
to
I'm
the
sorry, Mr.
clerk.
Jackson, it was wrong in my notes provided by the office. Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, I apologize for that
Okay.
error. This is a contract, at second year option. Golden Star provides video for all of our meetings and special events.
Okay, thank you. Freeholders. Vice President, Freeholder Siebel.
Thank you. The Schoenfels do a wonderful job, and I'm very happy they're going to continue with a second one-year option of the contract.
This is the second option. Thank you. Thank you. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Vice President Richardson.
Are these people we know, and what do we know about them? No, they do excellent work. Proud to have them, happy to have them.
We need to hear
Good to
from
see
them.
you getting a one-year extension.
Excellent. Additional comments or questions, Freeholders?
Mr. President.
Mr. Parlavecchio.
Just to put on the record, this was done by RFP originally, and this is just exercising an option from that original proposal.
Excellent. Mr. McInerney?
No question.
This will probably not be the first time you heard this. We'll be happy to support this. And also, although not specific in the scope of this contract, I'm looking forward to the day and time that we will actually figure out a way to have these meetings broadcast in ways that they are close to when the meetings actually happened. And maybe at some point we will eventually figure out a way to have our meetings live, whether streamed through our website and or like many of our municipalities somehow, and I'm not smart enough to figure this out, but I've been asking about it for a long time, somehow our local access channels should figure out a way to broadcast our meetings live. So with that, that's great. A lot of things are coming in 2019. I'll believe it when I see it. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold. Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Move to resolution number 21.
Resolution 21, Board of Chosen Freeholders Contract Award to Audio Digital Transcription to provide recording and transcription services of the Board of Chosen Freeholders meeting for 2019, exercising Section 2nd one-year option to the contract and amount not to exceed $50,000. And Mr. President, this is also from the Freeholder Office.
Okay.
And this is a contract, may I explain?
Sure, please.
This is a contract awarded to exercising one-year option to this vendor to cover our recordings of our meetings, especially off-site and special hearings.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Parlavecchio.
Similarly, Mr. President, this is the one-year option exercise on the original proposal.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Freeholder Siebold.
Again, Debbie Dillon does a wonderful job, and I'm very happy that she's going to continue to provide this service for the Freeholder Board.
Excellent. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Siebold.
Second.
Second by Vice President Richardson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 22.
Resolution 22, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of the Hospital Center, 2-year affiliation agreement with the College of St. Elizabeth.
Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, as you know, the county has a number of, through the hospital center, has a number of relationships with affiliate organizations and colleges. This is one with the College of St. Elizabeth. This is particularly for physician assistance programs. The college is going to cover all insurance costs, and it's beneficial to the county and to our to patients at the center, and there's no cost to the county.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
Mr. McInerney.
No questions.
Freeholders. Do I have a mover and a second? Moved by Freeholder
Second.
Jones. Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebold.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 23.
Resolution 23, Department of Administration and Finance, Office of Purchasing Contract, award to Culinary Ventures Vending to provide vending machines to various county locations, exercising 24-month contract extension option.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Coltrane.
Mr. President, Julius Coltree, Deputy County Administrator and Purchasing Agent. This is a 24-month extension. We have approximately 36 vending machines throughout the county that each vending machine brings in $168 per month for the revenue of the county. Most of the population here sometime during the day or night uses these vending machines.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio.
No questions.
McInerney.
Mr. President, I think we estimated that this would bring in roughly $72,000 a year in revenues to the county.
Thank you. Freeholders.
Additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second? Excuse me, moved by Freeholder Johnson, do I have a second by Freeholder Cooper?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 24.
Resolution 24, Department of Administration and Finance, Office of Purchasing, License Agreement for Parking for Prosecutor, County Council, Superior Court employees in handicapped spaces at 261 University Avenue, Newark, New Jersey, with LA Parking Corporation, October the 1st, 2018, through September 30th, 2019, amount not to exceed $124,800.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Goldtree?
Mr. President, this is a 12-month lease. Each space is approximately $200 per space, and it's a one-year contract. It's mandated by the Superior Court that we have parking for prosecutor, county council, and Superior Court employees.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Mr. McInerney?
No questions.
Freeholders? Questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano. Second by Freeholder Jones. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions 26 through 41.
Did you state the resolution?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Resolution 25 has been withdrawn by the administration. Moving to resolutions number 26 through 41.
It's up to 46.
Which is up to, up to 46. Freeholder Siebold.
Thank you. I would like to be included on number 26 and also on number 46. 26 and 46.
26 and 46. No problem with me. I'm on 46. I know Freeholder Pomares is not here, but 26 is for the 150th anniversary of Bloomfield College. Maybe he'd be willing to do that by acclamation.
Acclamation.
Okay. So we're going to change 26 to acclamation.
And you'll include me in 46?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Any other additional questions or comments? Okay, reports of board committees. Oh, I'm sorry, we need a motion on 26 through 46, please.
Move it.
Moved by Vice President Richardson. Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Jones.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Reports of board committees. Legislative reports, written communication, unfinished business, new business, public comment. Okay, if there's no one wishing to speak at this time, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there is no one wishing to speak at this time. Freeholder comment session.
Mr. President,
Freeholder Mercado.
earlier today, the young lady, I got her name, Gwendolyn, who
made the allegations of the time and attendance issues with this system. Is it possible to get a history of her time and attendance? If we're going to look into whether or not there's an issue with her time?
To make the request through administration, I don't know.
I would actually defer that to our county council, but for the purposes of, that's actually a matter that I think is under some, not litigation, but some investigation on our side, so it would actually be improper at this point.
Okay.
Okay, just to follow up on that, Freeholder Mercado, too, I mean, I think it was important, the response that was read, again, was a response through a request through the board to the administration. So the response that was read was not an individualized response of the board, but it was our follow-up with the administration for the first April.
So the administration is handling that particular matter? Okay.
Okay. Additional comments, Freeholders? Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, President. Wanted to take a moment to thank you all for coming out yesterday and swearing in. It was awesome to see everybody. I thank you and appreciate your support and taking time out of your busy schedules. I look forward to working with you. This was a great first meeting for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. Freeholders. Additional questions or comments? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved.